Cal stands beneath a strobing fluorescent bulb in a coffee shop. 6 back in a line of customers at the counter. A vague parade of morning ghosts one day deeper in the valley of habit, hoping for coffee's sweet deliverance from the blur. The man behind the counter has a look of someone who tried smiling years ago. "What'll it be now?" he says, and his words fall into the canyon of time carved there. His countenance the stamp of a question mark, but his eyes could not have said less.
Why I wrote the book? Because I lived through it. I lived through part of the experience and came out the other side, and I thought it was a story worth telling because I didn't think I was going to come out the other side. I placed it all out in the Southwest and in the desert area because that's reflective of how I felt inside. At first glance, there's nothing there. It's empty and barren and forbidding. And the more time you spend there, the more it starts to come alive, and you start to see that there's a lot more there than you ever knew could be there. There are a few mountains out west that are called Anvil, and so I like the term of it because it's this very hard block of metal that you hammer things on. Cal is getting hammered by reality. And the end result of hammering something on an anvil is that you make it harder and stronger. You don't destroy things on an anvil, you're building things, you're making things. And so he ends up on this mountain and becomes a much stronger person. The fact that I was a builder, I worked in steel mills, I was a musician, I was a photographer. Now I'm doing carpentry again, furniture making, and I wrote a book. It seems like it's a lot of things for one person to try, I guess. I was a commercial photographer all that time. I just see things visually. I see how they're lit, how they're shaped, what the interplay of objects are. And I can describe things that way easily. But I also like to break through that inner wall, where the inner being lives. My experience with playing saxophone and jazz has a lot to do with the cadence. I would find myself almost locked into a cadence sometimes, and I don't want to break it. I want to stay with the cadence and run it out to the end of the chapter. Whether that's a staccato type delivery or long looping lines and then short lines in between it. I did experience it as music as I was writing some of the passages. I don't think it's an accident. To me, it seems like that, looking back on it now, the story wanted to be told by those characters. There were times where they would wake me up at night after I had written something, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night with one of them in another dream saying, "That's not what I meant." And I would have to get up and rewrite the story. And there were other characters in the story that disappeared as I was writing it, that there was no more need for them. But I was definitely following this image, this guy. It was all down there. There was a starkness, flat sandiness to it, dusty.